It's the most wonderful time. What'd you say?
To be widowed.
Did y'all see the girl
Unless
that
you're a
went and
widow.
ordered some food at a fast food restaurant and she changed everything to her order? It was so good. We should have come up with one for being
What are
a
you
widow.
talking about?
It was on Instagram.
Let's do it
There
right
was
now.
some.
Pretty sure any widow song we came up with, no one's really going to want to be associated.
It's a bummer to be dead.
Wonderful time for dead husbands.
Start with.
Tell us
Okay.
when we're on.
All right, we've started.
You just
Like,
wait.
Sorry.
Yes, it's been recording. This is all going in.
This is Every Widow Thing.
The song.
We've been
you hear
out
me?
celebrating Christmas
You need to get
together
closer.
for dinner, and the dinner was
need to get
terrible.
This is Drunk Every Widow Thing, or Every Widow Thing Holiday Edition.
You can imagine.
Yeah, we haven't gotten together in a while. This is the first time in like several months that we've all gotten together. So we were
All
sitting at
four.
dinner, all four of us.
I mean, we needed a break from each other. No, I'm just kidding. Some time.
We need a break from widowhood. Don't you feel that? I mean, I'm wondering if our audience feels the same way, that you need a
Of
break from
course.
widowhood. You just want to just be.
Well, that is part of the thing, right? Once we started this podcast, when we got together, it became more about dead husbands and what we've learned and all of those things instead of just getting together and having fun. And that did put a new
Yeah.
All the
spin.
fun out of it.
Right. Work does take.
fair.
Work tends to
Well,
do
it became
that.
work. It became work. And then we were worrying about,
And we have an aversion to work.
financials and topics and all that stuff versus just going out and having fun. But tonight we were having fun, and we all agreed that some of the topics that we were discussing would make a very good episode. So you're welcome, listeners. One of the things that I remember that we were talking about was just the holiday. It's like, fuck it. I'm not doing Christmas cards. And I mean, we felt like
I
that.
had done them in
from the
13
beginning.
years.
Right. Holly and I were talking about this the other day, like Christmas cards and stuff like that. We're not doing any of that shit. Lacey, you definitely feel
I
free.
didn't realize you hadn't done the cards.
In 13 years. Oliver was the photographer. Okay, can I tell you something really dark and weird?
Sure.
Right. So right after
I don't know if the other two are into it, but I'm totally.
right after Oliver died,
I'm in for weird, but maybe not the dark.
it was dark if you think about it, because Oliver did all the photos. And so he would take the picture, and it was usually just Ryder. I mean, it's not like we had a dog. It's not like he had a sibling. And sometimes we did the three of us early on, but as he got a certain age, right before Oliver died, the last 2 years, we did just him. And then he had a tooth missing. And so we took that year.
Oliver?
No, Ryder
Oh.
did. Yeah, no, Oliver had a tooth missing. No, he did not.
Okay.
But so Ryder had a tooth missing. So that he was 6 years old, lost his tooth. So this is just like before Oliver died. And it said, "Look what I'm missing. Merry Christmas." Well, the year after Oliver died, I thought, wouldn't that be an interesting Christmas
No,
card to
look
sit
what
down?
we're missing.
Look what we're missing.
All I want for
And it ain't
Christmas
his
is
tooth,
my.
it's him.
My
And I know
God.
that's so weird and dark to think about, but it was how my mind. That's where my mind went, was all these weird
Honestly,
things.
that would make me want to do a Christmas card, like to do something dark and funny like that at this stage, like
What would have been
like a
kinda hard
picture
to do
holding
that
Hunter's
with a
ashes.
6-year-old.
Yeah,
So,
with Ryder, I was
now-
afraid everybody
now
would
it'd be
be
kinda
like
funny.
super worried about me
Okay,
and
next
start.
year's the year.
that we do a Christmas card with our ashes or something.
I guess we could have taken the ashes out tonight for that horrific meal that we had.
The meal was terrible. The company was good.
Sprinkle some ashes on that fish. It would
We-
taste better.
We won't do a shout out to that restaurant,
Yeah.
No.
though. I hope they get better.
Martinis were good.
Well, obviously, you can't really mess
How
up
can
a
you
martini.
yeah,
You can,
I mean,
though.
Especially
Yeah,
just a
people
vodka
do.
martini. It's
People
literally
do.
just chilled vodka.
mess
well,
up a
you can
martini.
mess it up, but I'm going to help you with
Let's
the
talk
editing.
about the holidays now, because this is a hard time for people that have loss, and what does it look like now? You know, on our Every Widow Thing Insiders group on Facebook, I feel like we're always encouraging people like, this is going to get better. It's going to get better. You're in it right now. It's super hard, but it does get better. There's a light, you know. It's not the end of the tunnel, because I feel like we're going to be in the tunnel for the rest of our lives, but the tunnel
I really thought
gets
a lot
lighter.
about it because I kept thinking, how much do I tell the truth about what distance does? Because I'm 13 years in.
I think you tell the truth.
So yes, I feel like you don't want to not encourage people that it's going to be better. It's like I told my dad, my mom recently died. They had a 66-year marriage. It was a good marriage. And of course my dad is sad. But the one thing that I thought a lot about that is that I tried to tell him, it's not that in 13 years it's better for me. I've learned to manage it better. There are still days, I still have days, I've had a couple this week, that I come across the memories on my stupid phone, which are so annoying. That's why I posted the one with the.
Those.
Well, that's why I posted the one about the boot. We used to do that.
Yeah.
I did it every year. I've done it for 12 years. When he went to college, I couldn't do it. But the point is that it still hurts.
Yeah.
It still hurts. I still have days that I look at people's postcards I'm so grateful people give me the Christmas cards that I don't send out. Even though I don't send them out, I'm glad they do. Mm-hmm. But it still hurts. Their families are intact. And mine is messy. It's still just me and my son. And then I start trying to focus on, this is what my new thing has been. Maybe Whitney is rubbing off on me. God forbid. I'm going to start wearing, fishnets.
You're welcome.
I'm starting to look at, no, I love that you do that. And I think in that way, I'm trying to look for the beauty in what I've learned from all of this, which is I'm grateful I had it.
Yeah,
It didn't last very long. It was not quite 11 years, but some people never do.
Exactly.
Some people never have that deep connection. But I am still seeking it. It still feels like I would like to have that again
but I think
before I die.
I think it's going to be a little different. You don't have to have kids with them. Or
No,
be a
I think
father.
it'd almost be easier because it's just about our connection. It's not about like, do we parent the same? My son's almost 20. He doesn't need a dad anymore. He's perfectly. I've had so many conversations with him. I sent him to the EMDR specialist that we had on here recently, and she said, I got nothing. Mm-hmm. He was 6 years old. Mm-hmm. He does not remember that person other than the things they did. He does not have an emotional connection with that person.
Right.
Which makes me sad.
Yeah, that's hard.
On one level, it makes me sad.
Yeah, of course.
Like I'm sure because Karis was only 4.
I don't think Karis does.
He said I don't have emotional connection. Like he was almost angry at me because I kept saying, I'm sure it's in there somewhere. I was digging and hoping it was going to come up with something. He said, I don't. I remember him doing things with me. I remember the watch. I remember the this, and I remember the video games he played with me. But that's like looking at pictures and you remember things you did with people, but you don't feel
you don't have the
anything.
Connection. Yeah.
Like I still feel like it can. He said something the other day and it just, all the tears just started flowing. And he was like, wow, that was fast. But it is because I'm still chasing that feeling that I used to have, that safety, that connection, that I see you. I feel you, I see you, but I know you and still love you. It's not okay with me.
Well, I think if you've never had it, you don't know what you're missing.
Yeah.
And, maybe this is going to sound unkind, but maybe that's what some people that have had marriages that didn't work out, they thought that they had the deep connection and then they came to realize they didn't really have the connection that they thought they had. And that's why it ultimately didn't work out or everyone went their separate ways. But, I agree with Lacey. I think to have it, for any amount of time is a special thing. And it's something that you've held on to beautifully in terms of honoring that. Yeah. And it doesn't matter how much time has gone by. And yes, of course, like once you've had anything, we've all joked about flying first class or, whatever it is. Like, I don't want to go back to coach. It's hard to go back to something that doesn't feel as special as what you've had in the past.
Yeah. And I think there are some people that don't need, I have learned this, which I thought was really interesting through the relationships with friends, guys, girls, or whatever. There are some people that don't need that deep connection. They just don't. That's not a thing that they crave.
Some people just need the bank account, apparently.
I wish I did. I wish that was enough because it would
It'd be easier.
I wish
They
I
just
could
need
just
a
let
private
go of it
jet
all.
and
Yeah.
Or even take out the money aspect. They just need a warm body, someone to go do something fun with, like someone who's fun. And not to discount having someone who's fun, but I really want to be seen. That's the thing. That's been a thing for me my entire life. And so I will wait. That's why I'm probably going to be 500 before it ever happens again.
But that's what I was saying earlier about if we can change, look, I was just having this conversation with my sister this morning about her daughter because her daughter has a boyfriend that's living in another city and she's always sad. And my sister and I were talking this morning and I was like, look, the bottom line is my niece is living in the if only, the what if, I miss, I want, instead of what is. Mm-hmm. And that's where the suffering is. If you're always thinking about what you had and what you're missing, then you don't appreciate what is right now. And that's like, not to bring up the later daters again, but it's my favorite show right now. And it's super fun to say later daters. Having the coach.
I've said plenty later daters.
Later daters.
I gotta watch this shit tonight.
You're gonna have to watch it.
I
But
meant
Holly
later
was
as
not
in
impressed.
bye-bye.
Holly was not impressed at all.
Thumbs down, just for the record.
I'm a thumbs up. Holly's a thumbs down. But rethinking what a relationship is gonna look like in our 40s and 50s versus what it was going to look like at 19 or 20s or 30s with your first, with our husbands. If you can let go of what you had, not let go, but, be grateful for what you had and recognize that maybe, that was a gift and then let life bring you the next thing. That's kind of what happened with Ryan. We've been dating for 4 years, but for 3 of those years, Who?
Who is this person?
But for 3 years,
He's never been mentioned.
I kept him,
We love Ryan.
quiet. He's great. Holly knows him the best.
I like
Kept him
him.
under a rock for 4 years.
I did, and part of it was that I was wanting something more similar to what I'd had. And part of it was that he was going through a divorce and dealing with his own stuff. And so I didn't feel safe. And part of it was just inexperience or whatever. But once I decided to lean in fully, and so did he, it took both of us to decide to lean in, it's changed everything because I don't try to hold, even though the whole time on this podcast I'm like, oh yeah, don't put your husband on a pedestal, there were issues, blah 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 blah. On some level I put him on a pedestal, I put our relationship on a pedestal, and I wanted the exact same thing, but you can't get that again. I'll never have the history with anyone else that I had with my husband. I never will meet someone again at 19. I will never have babies with anyone else. Like, that is a different relationship. So being able to let go of what I had before and be present in what is in front of me, and not that you settle, but you rearrange what is, I don't know, important or something. Am I even making sense?
Well, I think that it's just a different life. It's a different life situation.
Am I making faces?
Yes, you're totally making faces. Yeah. You know what I'm saying, though?
Yes,
like,
no,
it's
I
not.
think it's more.
It's not
about,
the same.
I think it's more about leaning, like you said, leaning into what you have. Like, what is my connection with this person? Like, for me with Brendan, like, it's not the same. But there's also like a lot of really good things about it.
Different things.
I didn't have with Frank.
Yes.
And it's just a whole new thing.
World.
And you compare, and you can't try to go back and
And the comparison is the danger
There's
in
no
it.
way you can recreate
That's
it.
the perfect way to phrase it, though, Kira. You cannot recreate what you had. But just to wrap that up, I guess the message is if you're sitting in, I want this, and if only that, and like, again, this morning when I was talking to my sister, talking about her daughter, it's like she's sitting in this idea of things would be so much better if I was in the same town as my boyfriend. Everything would be better. And I think as a widow, I will tell myself things would be so much better if Hunter were alive. This would have never happened if Hunter were alive. I don't know that. Like, that's a lie that I'm telling myself. Like, life would be so much better if Hunter were alive. I don't know that, you know, not to take away from the amazing things that we had, but I have no idea what life would have been like. And to put that out there then makes it hard for other relationships or another life to develop, because I'm living in the past. Again, later daters. The dating coach talked about ghost stories. Talked about ghost stories and
Are they paying you?
No, but it's super fun to say it.
If you
Later
want to,
daters.
you can. You can pay
Later
for this
daters.
episode, later daters.
Hashtag later daters.
Hashtag later daters. No one can relate to you if you're living in a past life.
It's hard to live up to a dead guy. You know, after the dust settled, and it's now been many years, I can now see where there are some people that have qualities that I would have enjoyed more, maybe. Like
Which
you
is
said with
also
Brendan earlier.
unrealistic.
You said there's some things that Brendan brings to and I know,
There's
I did
things
not
that
know
he and
Frank.
I have that are very different from what Frank and I had. It doesn't mean it's better or worse. It's just different. And I try to lean into those things, and that's what makes our relationship special. But just talking about the past for a minute, I think that one thing I kind of learned, it was almost like something I had to teach myself as I came through this, the before and after. So before this traumatic car accident, and then the after. It's like when you meet new people, and this happens all the time, that's part of who you are. That's part of your experience. So you want to find that balance between, hey, you know, this thing happened to me. This is, you know, this new man I'm with is not the father of my children because this, you know, he passed away and this is my history. So it's like I'm always trying to find that balance of sharing your past, sharing your experience that brought you to where your circumstance is now, without boring people, right? Like you were saying, like nobody wants to get like entrenched in the tragedy of it all and the what, you know, what can't be changed and what came before. But it's also, I find it so tricky to explain my situation still to people when they first meet me or my kids or my fiance or his daughter. What is our situation? And I'm getting better at learning how to provide enough information to say, like, this is the groundwork of like how we all ended up here. But at the end of the day, like, that's just life. Life is constantly changing. Life is constantly evolving.
That's hard. Like, I mean, that's hard because you want to tell your story and then people are like, oh, but you just want to tell it. You don't want a reaction.
That's why I have the widow's Tourette's. It's like, I want you to know.
Like, I met the new friends.
Oh, you have some new friends?
So I was introducing Zach to that would go to college with him that are from Austin. And you know, I'm talking to the moms. I'm like, yeah, well, you know, his dad died 7 years ago, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, it's just like, for me, it's just conversation. And they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. And you know, and I'm like, it's okay. I just want you to know.
Last night I was with some people and we were having a fondue party and we were playing a game called Fondue Fondant.
Is this the 70s?
Yes, it's a 70s swingers
Whitney
party.
Went back to the 70s last night.
A swingers party.
On later
Fondue,
daters.
later daters. And anyway, and so we were playing Fondue Fondant. And I said, Fondue Fondant, would you skydive? And then everyone was like, fondue, fondant, fondue, fondant. And I said fondant because my husband died. I was fondue, but then I was fondant after my husband died. And this girl goes, did he die skydiving? And I was like, oh no, I'm sorry. I just like to let people know that he's dead.
Well, and part of it is that it has a way of attaching to weird things too.
Yeah, it's
because you're
any
a single
opportunity
parent.
I can get to tell people. And by the way,
Whitney
it
does
runs in my
have
family.
widow
Parachute
Tourette's.
malfunction.
But I also will tell you, it runs in my family because I got a text from my mom a couple days ago, and she was like, "Why did I just tell a stranger at the park that your husband died?"
Because you're trying. Here's the thing. I think it's a very healthy thing. It's not easy. I do it all the time, and I find it draining.
Yeah.
But you're trying to marry the past and the present.
Yeah.
You're trying to recreate who you are now.
Well, and I
what
also
happened to you,
and
who
I
you
also
are now, and
yeah,
where you're going.
And I want people to know, hey, I've been through something. I may look all cheerful and Christmassy in my fishnet, but like I'm heavy. I've got some darkness in me because
With associate.
Dead
Tiny Whitney's heavy.
But Whitney does.
But do you
Okay,
think?
this
Well, I'm
kinda
wearing
leads
some right now.
This kind of leads
I'm
into
wearing
what
some
I
right now.
started to talk about at dinner.
okay,
Ooh,
do
juicy.
it.
I mean,
Oh
okay.
yeah, you
No,
have a story.
It's not juicy or
Ollie's
anything.
up.
A client came into the store, the boutique that I work in, the other day. She
Right.
came in because she wanted a piece of jewelry for her sister, whose husband died in the Ironman competition, and she was buying a very special piece of jewelry with their initials. Very sweet, and it like made me kind of emotional, but
Sure.
kind of got awkward for me because I'm at work and I wasn't going to say, oh, my husband died too. I can relate. But it was like,
That's exactly what I would have done.
I know, but I'm like at work. And this is why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah.
I was like, ugh, I want to say something. And then she's like, yeah, the funeral or memorial or whatever is next week. And I went in the back. I had to like go, in the back room. I mean, the other girls were helping her.
But did you have to go in the back because you needed to compose yourself? Like you
I
were
just
emotional?
was like, I just kind of walked, I just went in the back. And I was like, do I say something? Do I not say something? Do I say, oh, this is my favorite thing my friends did for me at my husband's memorial? Like, it was just like, my head was like spinning. Well, it's awkward if I go out there and I say something. Yeah, my husband died. I'm sorry. Like, It was just like an awkward situation.
Yeah.
I never said anything. She left not knowing.
And
What's
the
her name?
other
I'm gonna call her.
women, which I guess you're in a professional environment, who know your story, didn't say, oh, yeah, our associate also.
Well, I get that because that's Holly's story to tell, so
Right.
they don't want to jump in.
Well, it's
but
also too. You don't want to
it's-
always make it about yourself
Yeah,
either.
exactly.
You don't know. The
I
bottom
do.
line is that at one point,
Unless you're Whit.
there's
Unless
some
you're Whitney.
people. Well, I'm learning. It's really. I had an interesting conversation with my son about a particular topic just yesterday. I think women, in particular, most women in particular, like to talk to someone they like for you. It's why I didn't like therapy so much at first, because like I didn't like her knowing all mine. I don't know anything about her. I needed to know something about her stuff. So, because it's too vulnerable to go in there and
and
share.
So it was real fresh. It had just happened. I didn't want to make it about me.
But
there
why
was
did you
not-
assume
but
that it's
there's not-
making it about you instead of saying, I know
guess
what
I
you're
just-
going
it
through?
was a little bit awkward because the other girls I work with were all standing around,
Right.
and she's talking about, I want to make this necklace, like.
I can see why you would feel that way, Holly, because some people want a connection, like you see me and I've been there, and some people really don't want you to make it about them. I mean, like I said, I had that conversation the other day.
I just don't think she was in the place yet for me to be like, oh, my husband
Right.
died too. And I went to the back and I was thinking, oh, well, my favorite thing that my friends did for Toby's memorial was this. And I was going to come out and like offer that suggestion. But the moment, the timing was
Yeah, it was already gone.
It was awkward, and I just let it go.
I think I probably would have done what you did.
A lot of times it's like you hear somebody say something like, oh, well, I blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, I didn't really want to hear your story. I didn't tell my story.
I have a feeling a lot of people think that when I'm talking.
No, I like that you do because I need that. I need someone to share theirs because I feel exposed if I'm the only one in the room that shares. I don't like it. And
I would like to think that I can read the room.
I have a group of friends that I'm like an open book, and I go home and I'm like, wow, I just shared my whole life with them, and they didn't really share anything back.
Is it because we're Libras? I don't even know that I get the whole horoscope thing, but sometimes it is a thing.
I do think you have to read the situation. I think Holly did the right thing.
I think she did too.
That woman's grief was so recent.
Acute, yeah.
And she was probably still in shock, and she just didn't even know what to do.
She was in shock, I could tell.
She was coming in to try to get something special for her sister, but you don't want to hijack the grief.
Right. Oh, can we talk about that for a second? Okay, and I know it's late and everybody needs to go home. But one of the things that came up recently on Every Widow Thing Insiders, what someone had posted. Oh, yeah. Have you had any? Has anyone else had any experience with people stealing your grief or trying to one up your grief? And I thought that was so interesting. And in a way,
have you guys?
That's what you're kind of feeling. That's why you didn't say anything today, is because you didn't want to one up her grief or make her feel like you were this person.
Sure, there's many scenarios where, there's a grieving widow and maybe the mother is like, well, I lost my son. I lost a child. You lost a partner. You can go find another partner. You can date again.
Yes.
You can carry on.
Yeah.
I lost my child.
Yeah.
And I could see that scenario, and I've heard that from people where, everyone just needs to make space for their loss, which is individual and not better or worse or harder or,
Right, no comparing.
Yeah, it's just, but I could see how that could be,
Like my dad lost his wife of 66 years. If I want to compare, I'd say I got 10, you got 66. Which sounds worse? I don't know. 66
it depends.
Right.
I mean, the loss after having somebody by your side for 66 years, that loss can be very hard. But then at the same time, only having 10 years, like you can't
That's what
compare.
I'm saying. That's why
you
there's
literally
no point
can't.
in doing it. Because what I tried to tell my dad the other night, we had this long discussion, and I think he heard me, which I was so grateful for that he listened. And I said, it minimizes my pain for you to say that you're young enough, because someone did say that to me one time, you're young enough to meet someone new, because I was only in my 40s when Oliver died, so you're young enough to meet someone new. And I said, but that isn't the point. Why do we feel the need to compare? Because all it does is minimizes someone's pain.
I think there's two different ways in everything in life to approach. Like you can either identify and sit with someone and say, I can relate to how you're feeling because I've had I can empathize with you because I've had a similar loss, or it becomes a competition, like mine's worse, yours worse, and that doesn't accomplish anything.
Nothing.
Like that creates division instead of inclusion. And
I have to go home.
I know you do.
Holly's
One last
had
thing.
a long day of working.
Before we leave, can we just quickly, how are the holidays for you this year, Holly, at 7 years in? Versus the first few years, give someone a little take on it, and we'll just go down the line.
I feel like it's better this year, although I'm much busier. I think it hits me on Christmas morning, so I'll let you know.
Okay.
No, I mean, I feel better this year than I have the past 6 years. But I also think it's because my boys are older. I got more going on, more distractions.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Yeah, that's all I got.
I was definitely just devastated first few years. Could not wrap my head around trying to pull off all the joy and magic of Christmas with 3 school-age kids and trying to recreate everything when I felt like just miserable inside.
Right.
It's really sad.
Not only mentally and emotionally, but physically you were dealing with a lot.
Yeah, 100%.
I guess I was in the beginning, yes. I had a couple of years of surgeries and things. But I was emotionally just, I dreaded Christmas. I dreaded doing all the things that we used to do, that we used to look forward to. We did it as a family. So it was really just something I was getting through to create, normalcy and try to create joy for the kids. But I'm sure at the end of the day, I wasn't pulling it off very well, and they probably saw through some of that. But I did the best I could. And now, after 10 years, things are so different. I've got grown adult children, some in college, some home. I've got a stepdaughter who's been incorporated into our lives. I've got a new partner. We actually have my parents and Brendan's parents joining us here in Austin from the DC area next week.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be super fun, actually.
Is.
I'm kind of enjoying more the role of taking over the holiday from my mom, who always kind of put on, we were actually supposed to go there, but circumstances changed. Letting her kind of be the ringleader of the festivities. I'm kind of enjoying being sort of in charge, especially because it's beyond my.
So what would you tell yourself, like if you could talk to yourself at year 3 or something, like what would you say?
I think I would just say, like, it's never going to be the same.
Yeah.
Those years with Frank and our kids as a family unit, that'll never happen again. That'll never be what that was. That special time with my husband and the father of my children is lost forever, and we have amazing memories. But you've got to just kind of roll with the punches, honestly. I mean, some people's punches are worse than others.
Right.
But you have to adapt, and you have to try to bring joy into your home, no matter what it looks like and what the new scenario is. I'm just trying to, still make it fun, still make it festive.
And you do.
I definitely have sad moments, though. I still do.
Yeah.
Even in 10 years.
Yeah.
We went to get the tree the other day, and I don't know. I kind of came home, was kind of down.
Yeah.
Just getting the tree, the stupid going out to the lot, and remembering making Frank stand there and pull out every freaking tree so I could see and critique and turning it around and spinning it around, and the kids kind of being impatient. And then I did it just with Brendan. Kids were busy. They were either at college or studying for exams. He and I went. He's pulling out the tree. He's getting irritated with me, just like Frank did. It was kind of funny. I was like, I guess I'm the same. I'm still real
Picky about the tree.
And we always get the real tree, too.
Right.
That's a whole other thing. We don't do the
I don't either.
the fake tree. But, which I'm not against. It's just, we're out on the lot. We were late this year. It was real Charlie Brown out there. I made him drive around. I was like, I want to go to every place in the city, and he's getting real irritated. Thank God we found a pretty tree, and it's all good. But, yeah, you just adapt.
Yeah.
That's life.
Yeah.
And it's a lot better now than it was in the beginning. The beginning was really, really, really hard. And for any listeners that are going through that's going to be the hardest time, is this first few years. It'll get better.
Lacey, what about you?
It's interesting because all you're thinking about is your family, right? All I could think about was that I'm trying to make sure that he's okay. He was in first grade. He was only 2 months into first grade. And now he's a sophomore in college, which is
so
great.
What would you tell yourself back then, now? Like, knowing what you know now, what would you have whispered to you?
I would tell anybody that's an audience, get therapy so that the air mask is on you first so that you can give them what they need. Because if I had not had the therapy, I don't think I would have had the wherewithal to be able to. But it's hard. I mean, I heard it's the most wonderful time of the year the other day. And when I was in Walgreens, I heard that and I thought, it's really not for me. My mother just died. My dad is sad and my husband's still dead. He's not coming back. Right. And then I thought, okay, I've had enough time 4 years of my mom's illness and all of that. I finally, that's a big change. I'm trying to look for the good, and my son and I are having a good time together. We're having fun conversations. We're cooking dinner together. So I'm trying to focus on those things. And
So really, the message could just be, you're gonna be okay. Like, you're gonna survive this, and your kid and you are gonna have a good relation.
we have a close relationship.
That's awesome. All right. On that note, we're gonna end it. Come over and say goodbye, Kira and Holly.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
I
And
guess
if they're
I
not
talked too long.
happy-
I'm sorry.
It's gonna be
Bye.
okay.
If they're not happy,
It really
it
is.
will be happy at some point. Yeah.
You're
Keep
stronger-
going.
You're stronger than you think you are.
That's right. Holly, you got anything?
I hated in the beginning when people said happy holidays or holly jolly. I'm just going to say. So
Holly Jolly.
make the best of the season.
Yeah.
Is all I have to say.
You're going to be okay. We love you. You're not alone. Bye. Bye.